and welcome to our webinar called What's New Inside Document Capture version 2023 R1. My name is Kim Dalsgaard Christensen and I am your friendly host for this webinar. As you might know, we have now released new versions of all our solutions, both for Business Central on cloud and on premises. To follow up on this, we have these webinars. If you did not register, they will be available as a recording on our YouTube channel as soon as possible after the events. Before we get started, I'd like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in today's event. As an attendee, you have joined this webinar muted or in listen-only mode by default. You will, however, have the opportunity to submit text questions to today's presenter by typing your questions. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation. We will collect these and answer a few ones relevant for the majority of the audience. Rest we will answer them right after the event. For those of you who are new to Continia, we are one of the top add-on software companies delivering solutions exclusively to Microsoft Dynamics Business Central. We started up in 1992, leading us to today, where we are an international company with offices throughout the world, supported by more than 1,400 Microsoft Business Central partners. Our solution focuses on the automation of finance processes from start to finish by using Business Central. This means that we simply build our solutions inside Business Central. This is due to the open architecture of Business Central that gives us opportunity to add all our features directly into the Business Central application. This makes it very easy for users to adapt the new features, and the implementation costs are extremely low compared to related standard solutions within the market. All our solutions are available both on premises and on Business Central Online or Cloud from Microsoft AppSource. Each and every solution is delivered by our partners, and we do have a wide range of different customer types, both within size and types. So no matter who you are and what you do, I'm pretty sure you will find customers much alike you. That was it about Continia. So now it's time for my colleague, Mikkel, to take over. Mikkel, can you take over the screen?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Let me start sharing the screen here. Let me see. Just looking for the right screen to share. You should see a slide saying what's new. Is that correct,
Yes,
Kim?
correct.
Great, thank you. And thank you for introducing me, Kim. It's an honor for me to be here and show you all what we have built in the latest release of Document Capture. Let me start by introducing myself. My name is Mikkel Reisbøl, Senior Solutions Specialist regarding Document Capture. And before we get all into these many features I'm going to show you today, let me remind you of the upcoming webinar where we'll go into a deeper dive of those two subjects, prepayments and purchase order. So please sign up for the webinar the 16th next month. Today I have a bunch of things I would like to show and demonstrate to you. Unfortunately, we only have almost an hour to do that, and therefore I encourage you to log into the roadmap in Continia Docs and take a look at all the many new enhancements, features, and changes to the solution that definitely will benefit your daily work. Well, let's get on with it. I have a long list of new features to present to you. And let's see what is on today's list. Regarding the platform and technology area, let me focus on one thing here. We have the enhanced performance in regards to especially the document search when you want to look up XML document data, searching for any value that has been significantly improved. Besides that, here's a short list of things to focus on when it comes to the platform and technology. In the general application area, also a huge bunch of features or changes, you could say, some areas. Let me focus on one of those down here. The role center document queues are now run in the background, ensuring that you can start using the standard Business Central functionality without waiting for document capture to communicate with external services like the OCR or mail server, such things. So we have speeded up the role center quite a bit. When it comes to the document and template area, we have a long list of nice improvements. Let me mention the merge non-consecutive documents. When you have documents listed not next to each other, you can now merge those together manually if you want to. It's much easier to do that instead of trying to do some filtering as it was in the old days. Another item on the list we could mention here is the bulk delete of template fields. You can, from one master template, say I would like to delete all delete the same field in all the templates where it might have been used or where it probably has not been used. That's why you want to delete it. So you can clean up your template with obsolete fields or fields you never used. More goodies for the documents and templates. Where should I look at? Let's take the important template fields are undeletable. It's kind of the opposite to the bulk delete. We have certain fields that are very important and crucial for the recognition, and therefore they have been made undeletable, ensuring that somebody playing around in the solution are not longer able to break the templates. And another template setting would be that you could show embedded files received in an XML document as the default. So instead of showing the styled XML view, you can now see the embedded copy of the document, the PDF that was included in the XML file. And there's more to come. Purchase documents, a few things regarding purchase documents specifically have been changed here and added. You can see the support for prepayment. Going to look at a later stage, also at a later webinar where we do the deep dive. And a huge amount of updates for the purchase contracts. The one here at the bottom is quite interesting, integration to expense management. We're not going to see that today, but I encourage you to sign up for the webinar. We'll see exciting things. And the order receipt matching, a good bunch of cool features. Let me mention one of them here. That could be the improved match messages. So when you do some auto match, you get a better notification or more precise, or you could say detailed information about what is good and what is wrong with this match handling. And the last set of lines, document approval. Also here, a good portion of cool stuff has been added. And one of them I want to mention here is the comments generated automatically. That could be in combination with the auto match. They are then made available during the approval flow, so the approvers can see why the document didn't auto approve or other situations that might be interesting for approvers to know of. Oh, that was a lot of things that we've included, and it was only half of it. If you go into the changelog, you will see a longer list of more extended list of feature addings. And this is what we're going to look at today, at today's demonstration. Bit of everything: platform technology, general application, auto match, documents here and there, and some contract stuff. And due to the time limitation, I will focus on some highlights within these areas and do a live demonstration of the remaining items from the list. So why don't we just jump into it and get on with the show. I already spent 10 minutes of today's presentation, so I better move fast. Please lean back and enjoy the show. Just to let you know, all these information that you get today are also available later on a video, and please feel free to do screenshots of the list that you experience here during the presentation. First of all, the continuous notification, a new way of communicating, you could say, that will notify the users of any operational stages or major releases that we have going out on the market. When I mean operational stages, it is about some continuous services that might be delayed or degraded or for some reason out of order. And instead of sending emails to partners that then have to inform the customers, you will be able to get the information directly through a notification in Business Central. And we'll inform about operational statuses, new release information, and also include introduction to new features like these videos you can see here, creating and updating purchase orders, and also notification regarding other solutions that might be included in your license. So if you're working with OP Plus and Domo Capture, you'll be notified due to those solutions are in your license, and it's important for you to get this information. And only relevant users are notified. We will ensure that the contact person are informed only, and not everybody, of course. Let's move over to the general application area. I have 3 slides I want to show you here. Let's jump into the Business Central Universal Code Initiative first. It's about all apps for Business Central have to be one and only app that both work in online environments and on premises. And in the old installations of Domo Capture, you needed a separate app for handling access to local files in your storage. And that has been changed now. We have one app that works exactly the same way in online and in on-premises environments, and therefore we have introduced a on-premises file service that you then install locally. Simply open a set of file, click on File Service, follow the installation, and open the configuration page. It's more or less like the same way that you install local components or the local OCR server that quite a lot of customers are already using. So it's the same process. Install a local file service, configure where you have your file path, your document stored, and then go into Domo Capture and configure the file service in the Domo Capture setup. Select the server action and complete the setup in here. To make it a bit easier, you can run the storage migration assisted setup guide, which will instruct you what to fill in and validate all the values on the fly. So a new way to configure your local storages to ensure that you as a customer, we as an Microsoft app provider are compliant with the rules that are in Business Central. Let's move over to the file fact box. You know, the box where you can drag and drop files. This has been redesigned. It looks like this. And the major change is that instead of being an add-in, it's now a standard Business Central list page, which allows you as a user to add, remove, rearrange columns, also change the column width, the sorting, and partners, developers can do customizations to this page as easily as with any other page in Domo Capture. If I select the description headline, click on this, I can sort directly in the list. I can add columns needed for me to get the exact view that I need. Moving over to some assistance. It's about getting help in Domo Capture. You shouldn't think that was needed, but for some newcomers to the solution, it might be helpful to be guided a bit more, and therefore we have introduced direct links from the solution to the Continia docs. So if you go into the page like the template card, and you open the help section in Business Central, click on Learn More, Continia Software shortcut, a page will open up and show you the relevant instructions in Continia docs. So we have a direct link between a number of pages to our docs. So no more searching for documentation, no more searching for looking up ways of handling or understanding this page. You will get a direct hit when you click on Learn More. And besides these direct links, we've also redone a lot of tooltips on these 3 following pages to help especially first-time users with the exact instructions, guidance to get on with the show. It's time to focus on some order and receipt matching. Let's take a look at the vendor shipment and vendor order number. On the template, you now have 2 new fields, a header field and a line field, actually 2 header fields and 2 line fields, vendor shipment number and vendor order number. And with those fields, you can now match your purchase orders simply by adding those template fields, and new section in your template will pop up and say, allow you to configure whether these 2 fields should take part of your matching process. And enabling these, as it says here, will trigger both header and line matching, meaning that you could recognize a vendor shipment number or vendor order number in the header or in the lines. And if you recognize in both areas, let's say you have a header value of the order, and on some of the lines you have different vendor order numbers, then the line values will overrule. They are stronger than the header values, so you will always be able to fall back on the header recognized value. And along with those 2 fields, we have introduced 2 new filter actions on the invoice match page to ensure that you have a nice view filtered on those particularly recognized values. A quick look at a couple of the purchase documents features. What do we have here? Check dimensions on register and support for prepayment. The first one, check dimensions on register, is about making sure that the recognized values that we have in our document are compliant with the rules we have configured on our accounts. Might be that you need to have a dimension value like department code, or you don't want to have dimension values included. Simply go to the document capture setup page, activate the switch, and now you have a check implemented that will ensure that you cannot register the document unless you have the right dimensions applied. And this check is activated for those 4 registration steps. Step 1, either create invoice, match order and create invoice, or create credit memo. And the last one, match order and create credit memo. So those 4 steps will activate this check and ensure that you have the right values recognized. One more thing in regards to this area is the support for prepayment. With this release of document capture, you now have the possibility to identify, recognize, create the prepayment invoices automatically. So when you have invoices where a prepayment is required, sorry, not invoices, you have a purchase order. So before you can get the goods delivered, you need to prepay a part of the order or perhaps the whole amount. What do I have to do? Yeah, I simply recognize the document like we usually do in document capture. And as you can see here, we have a prepayment document type included in the template. So if it's an invoice, a credit memo, or prepayment, document capture will know that. And based on the order number that is recognized, document capture will then link the invoice to the order, create the prepayment invoice, as it says here, based on the built-in functionality that we already have in Business Central. You can learn more about this area if you join the webinar next month, May the 16th, where I will go into more details about how to handle prepayments. Let's jump to the document approval section. I have two items here I want to emphasize. So let's see approved purchase orders and a user-specific forward list. Now that we've introduced the purchase order features with this release, we also have introduced a purchase order approval flow, both for standard approval, advanced approval, and also force approval, as you can see here. These approval workflows will work, of course, also on the web approval portal, where you can view the PDF instead of the generated printout. Now it's the original PDF. You can edit the purchase order lines and do a lot of other things like we know from the purchase invoice approval. Today, we're not going to see more about this, but please join the webinar again on the 16th. It's all about purchase order and prepayments. There's a lot of things going on there, so please sign up. We have user-specific forward lists in this edition, and what is that? With this feature, you can configure, as it says here, selected colleagues that a specific person can forward to. So we can see here that marketing can forward to EH, and the same can the user RB also only forward to EH, meaning that whenever the marketing colleague would like to choose another approver in the flow, they can only select EH. It's very simple to set up. It's a list like this, and you just specify which colleague or colleagues you want a specific user to be able to forward to. And this is available in both Business Central and the Continea Web Approval Portal. The pages look a bit different, but the functionality is the same. It's time to look at documents and templates. We have a good list of subjects to look at here. So why don't we just jump into it? First of all, check item prices. With recognition of document lines, where you recognize item numbers, we can validate the recognized unit cost against the price and discounts registered in Business Central. So on this item number we see to the right, item number 1908-S, we have for the vendor 50,000 configured a number of discounts and prices. In order to do this validation, you'll go in and activate this setting, check item prices. And this is only possible to activate if you have line recognition activated on your template, of course. In case you have a price difference, you'll be warned. Like in this case, where we have recognized some lines with items, you'll be warned in case the recognized amount differs from what we expected from the price structure in the item card. The warning that we see here can, of course, be changed to either information or a most likely an error, stopping, making sure that you can't register the document, so you'll stop the process in case you have price differences. Very convenient to ensure correct recognition and that they don't pay too much for the items when, in case the vendor has a wrong unit cost in the invoice. Bit more about the purchase order story. We have built a new category called purchase order. This is how it looks. Looks a bit like the purchase invoice and also behaves quite like the purchase invoice category. But instead of creating a purchase invoice or credit memo, we will create a purchase order. And for that, we have a new master template, of course, and it looks a bit different. We have less options available due to a order undergoes a different process than a purchase invoice or a credit note, of course. So in this case, we can see that the order registration step 1 is set to create order, but I could also go in and update an existing purchase order in the following fields: the vendor order number, vendor shipment number, quantity, unit cost, and expected delivery date. All this is to be described in the upcoming webinar. Once again, I'm mentioning this, so please sign up and make sure that you get a good view of new features in regards to purchase order and approval of those. Here we have a bit of a change in document capture compared to earlier versions, and this is the allowed amount difference settings that we have introduced in the general ledger setup. In the older versions, you could say, the field invoice running position was being used to validate any differences you might have, rounding issues and such things. But that could conflict with other add-ons or other ways of using this field. So we have decided to add 2 new fields. Those 2 over here to the right: maximum allowed difference for excluding and including VAT. So instead of having 1 field that is also used by other parts of Business Central, we have now created a separate field, 2 separate fields here in the general ledger setup, and also added the same 2 fields to the currencies table, meaning that you can configure different currencies tolerances and one for the local currency, which is the general ledger setup. This ensures that you have very precise tolerance configured, and that could be done per, as it says here, per currency, and through that you have a possibility to leave out any certain currencies to actually go through, have the invoices go through if they have some differences. So in this case, we can see that DKK, Danish kroner, is 10 and 12.50, whereas the CZK is set to 0. So we can do that individually. One thing worth mentioning is that this new feature is available in the app versions of Business Central only. If you're still on a FOB version, then you will still work on use the invoice running position field for handling tolerances. User assigning enhancement, we have a couple of those worth mentioning here today. One is a template field called assign to user ID. So this user assigning is about notifying a colleague, pushing the document to not an approver, but to a colleague that can finalize perhaps the recognition or some order match needed or other details required to register the document. And now we have a value field we can put in here on the template card, ensuring that, or making sure that this document, that the documents received through this template are being forwarded to that particular person every time. It happens automatically, meaning that I don't have to configure anything else or type in a name in the journal. The value is taken directly. The configuration is taken from the template and applied when registered. In case you have configurable messages, like let's say some order match or price check, that comes up with an error that would assign a document to another colleague, then those configurable messages override the template settings, ensuring that detailed errors are more important. They are prioritized over standard configuration. And when we talk about assigning enhancements, we have this commit requirement. Whenever you will do a automated assigning, this has been written in the comments section. But when you do a manual assigning of a document, you can now configure that you need a mandatory comment or an optional comment. So it's only when we do manual assigning. Let's say that I would, during my registration of the document in my document journal, say, hey, Kim, here's your document. Then I could be prompted for a comment letting me know why did I assign this to him. But the default value is no, so it's not automatically implemented. You need to go in and in the document catalog setup and configure this field in regards to your local needs, of course. Here's a page I've been looking forward to show the North American customers and partners. We have done a lot of optimizations in the templates and configurations for the North American, US, Canada market. And what is it that we have improved? Well, we have changed a lot of things in the purchase PDF master template, the sales PDF master template, and other general configuration areas have also been updated. And why did we do these changes? Well, it's all about working smarter, have a shorter implementation time, make it easier for first-time users to get on with the implementation, with the usage. And for that, we also enhance the PDF recognition based on the feedback from the users in the US and Canada, what fields, what templates are needed, and therefore we have streamlined the setup. We also handle the way that you process the documents, how the registration process, and let's take a look at the list of changes that we have done here. First of all, we've added Spanish and French captions to a great number of header fields. Also included more captions for the document type, specifically header field. We have removed or changed some settings for some amount fields to make them compliant with the way that you work in the North American area. Also renamed the field, added a new text field, and then we have removed the automatic insert of two fields, the account type and account number, and that is for the purchase PDF master template. Looking at the sales PDF master, 3 areas have been touched here. Some captions, not some captions, but quite a lot of captions have been added, Spanish and French, and also the document type header field again has been improved with more captions to recognize more documents automatically, and also renamed a text amount field. General changes in the configuration, the check amount on approval and check dimensions on approval, both to be found in the purchase approval setup under document capture setup, are both now set to every approval. They were before that they were set to on the last approval. And one big change you could say is that we have removed all the XML templates except the PEPL. Based on the feedback from customers in the US, is that the XML templates are generally not used, especially not the ones that are specific for European countries like the Danish or the Norwegian or the Swedish XML templates. and also based on analysis of over how the users were identifying documents, we have removed the identification templates as they were generating more noise than they were actually beneficial. Most of the recognition in the North American companies are done through identification fields and not the identification template. So the setup is streamlined, it's easy to overview, and there's a lot of checks and validations being improved. Please note, this is only the configuration file, so the application itself is still just like in any other localization. It's only the config file, so you can still import the config file where if you want to have XML templates. As an example, if you want those imported, you can still do that. Let's jump to the purchase contracts. Here we have three things we could mention: hide outdated contract and some associate lines and a number of other feature enhancements. Why don't we just look at it? So when we work with contracts, we could have contract lines that are being canceled during the review due to let's say we don't have this Volkswagen Transporter any longer, so the contract line is being cancelled. And these contract lines are being seen as outdated if they have been cancelled through 2 or more review processes. And to ensure that we only look at lines that are interesting, then we can hide the outdated lines simply by clicking this action here in the list, the contract line list, and that will hide the outdated lines. Not the cancel lines, but those cancel lines that are outdated. That is worth mentioning. You can set up to automatically, by default, hide those outdated lines by going to the purchase contract setup and activate the switch, hide outdated contracts. In case you encounter a high number of contract lines that are outdated, you might want to go in and, let me see if I can get this moving on. Come on, yeah. So you can get a bit of help from Document Capture, purchase contract module, to delete those cancel lines. So when anybody will finalize a review and you have cancel lines returning to you, then you could answer yes to have those lines deleted, cleaning up the contract in one go instead of picking out and searching out those contract lines individually. Deleting contract lines are only possible if they are not approved or related to approved or a posted invoice. So only contract lines, cancelled, obsolete lines that are not involved in any other actions than simply being on a contract, those are deletable. Otherwise, they are not deletable. A great thing added here in purchase contract also is the possibility, or not the possibility, but the fact that Document Capture and purchase contract will now enable you to recognize the vendor contract number and through that automatically figure out which lines to link in the invoice with the lines in the purchase contract. Simply recognize the vendor contract number, and through that, Document Capture automatically figure out which purchase contract number internally, your account number, you could say, your purchase contract list. And when we recognize lines, we can have those automatically associated with the contract lines whenever they match based on account type, account number, quantity, and unit costs. So here we will skip a lot of manual actions. We will have the system checking and validating that these lines in the invoice actually match the lines in the contract. So save you a lot of time and a lot of errors, and making sure that the data is fully in place, correct, when we register the document. Let me show you a list of other enhancements that I want to mention to you. We can create contracts from purchase orders. We have contract templates to easily create new contracts. We have dimensions available in the contract lines. We can also check existing contracts if they exist when we create a new contract, making sure that we don't have duplicate contracts, and also automatically look up a contract during recognition instead of manually. Document capture will suggest which contract to choose. Approval date variants, just like we know from expense management, where we also have some approval variants, and then we have optimized these approval of contract-related invoices. And last but not least, the integration to expense management had also been introduced. And I encourage you to join the webinar, which is on May the 17th, where my colleague Lotte will go through the exciting features in expense management, including the purchase contract part. Ooh, that was a long trip and a lot of slides. These highlights were the ones that I went through. I still have a few minutes, I hope, to show a couple and three actually live demonstrations of those interesting areas that I have picked out here. So we're going to look at some documents and templates features, automatically assign item charges, and amount distribution without having any accounts. Sounds interesting. And general journal lines, balancing account enhancement. So let's see what that is all about. Automatically assigning item charges. Well, you know, in Business Central, we have the possibility to assign or split out the cost for, let's say, freight or other item-related amounts based on amount, weight, volume, or equally based on how many lines we have. And this has until now been a manual process after we have recognized the document, but now we can document capture do it automatically, meaning that I simply recognize a value in the invoice lines and then register the document. Everything happens automatically. Only thing I have to ensure is to configure the template card to assign the item charges based on one of these four methods. Let's take a look at how this is done in real life. And I'm trying to figure out where I put my Business Central. It's over here, and I need to have a password copied in here. So it did a timeout just recently. So let's see. Yeah. Let's check it out and see what is this about. Okay, let's go to my list of documents that I have ready. And I have one here. This is the Wild Word Importers. It should be the one for today. Yeah. Let's recognize it. And you can see I've recognized a lot of lines and header values. It looks good. Do though have a tiny notification telling me that I must translate line 6. So why don't we look at this one? Let's go to the document card. And let's zoom in also so you can see a bit more what is going on. I want the lines translated to items, but I have some freight that I want to handle as a item charge. So let's do that. Let's choose what's this purchase freight. Looks nice. And the comments are all gone. Oh, that was a good step I did here. So let's see. What do I need to do? Oh yeah, I need, of course, to go in and change my template. Otherwise, nothing will happen here. So let's take a look at the template card. And here I have all the usual fields you know of, and then we have the new one, item charge assigning, and I can choose here which method to use. Let's try out the equally one. So we will split these costs, my freight cost, equally among the 5 lines that I have. And let's try to do that simply by registering the document. So let's see. Should work. Yeah, and it's also speedy today, my little server. How nice. And I have my freight line down here. Looks nice. Let's take a look at the line and related information to look at the item charge assignment. And in here I can see there are 5 lines where we have this one freight split out in a fifth for each line, 0.2 quantity to assign, and the amounts are then equally split based on the amount from our freight 462.50. Oh, quite nice. Let's try another step. I will go back and reopen the document. Let's try that. Yeah, that deleted the invoice. Cool. Yeah. And let's try to change the template a bit. Let's go in and say this is by, what should we take? Let's take by amount. Okay. Yeah. And let's do the registration step. And there we have the invoice once again. Looks more or less the same, or it looks the same, except if I point to my freight and look at the line of related information, item charge assignment, we will see that, yes, that the quantity to assign is now based on the amount that these individual item lines had. So we have the first line is only 14.64, the second line 102 and something, and 292.72 for the third line. So this happens all by itself in the background as soon as I configure the template, translate the amount as a item charge, and then register the document. How convenient, how cool, and fast and secure. Let me go back a bit. So, yep. Come on, yep. And back to the PowerPoint because I need to move on. Yes. Next step is to show the amount distribution without accounts. And we have the possibility to create a standard amount distribution code with accounts or without accounts. And as you can see here, you can activate the distribute by dimension, which would then allow you to create lines where you don't have any type or account number. And why would I do this? Well, it says here in the text at the top that I can apply these dimensions without changing the account number. Means that I can keep the existing account number. So I have an invoice that was pre-configured with an account, but I want to split my cost based on a certain code without updating the account. What I can do is to go in and create a new standard amount distribution code and then configure it as seen here. You can use these this possibility, this applying of a distribution code either after registration, meaning I've just registered the document and I can then fill in the value, or I could do it during approval. Let's say I submit it to Robin and Robin would then like to fill in like 20 lines. So I do it manually. You can then choose a amount distribution code. It works both in Business Central and in the web report portal. And then, of course, after it's been approved, just before we want to post it, I could split out the lines based on one of these codes. Also, everything is possible. The only demand that we have is that a existing line does exist with a GL account. Or not a GL account, with an account, of course. So let's take a look at this. Let me jump out here on the front page and look at my standard amount distribution code. Let's take a look at this. So here I have 2 lists. One is my office. Let's take a look at this. It has predefined accounts and distribution by percentage. This is not the one I want to use today. I have a general one where, as you can see, I have no account type and number because I say it can be distributed by, it should distribute by dimension and not apply any new accounts. So how do I set this up? Yeah, why don't we try this? Let's do a new one. I would call this for warehouse, something like that. And this is warehouse restructure. Can I spell this? correctly. Let me see, like this, type correctly on the keyboard. And you could say that they should apply to all vendors or some vendors, but that's not the important part today. It is the distribute by dimension, which is important to enable. And by doing so, those two fields are no longer possible to edit. But my description is, so I will take this warehouse, just take the same text from up here and say this is, oh, come on, not my password. Come. Now you saw my password to my server. Okay, and say this is 10%, and this is 70%, and this is then, what's the rest here? 20, it will be, yeah. And split it by dimension administration, sales, and production in this order. So this is what I need to fill in. Then I can go out and look at my document journal. Let's see where the document is. That would be my document from First Up Consultants, this one, recognize it. And as you can see, I have a GL account applied to the template, or it's suggested here at least by Document Capture. So why don't we just register this one? And right now I have the standard look of the invoice. I have one line that came from the template, but I would like to get an amount distribution code. Might be that you are one person working here in the Business Central client, or you might be working in the Web Approval Portal. So right now I'm simulating that I'm in Business Central as an approver or as a second accounts payable clerk that needs to overlook documents after they've been registered. So I will click on Get Amount Distribution Code and choose my warehouse and simply say yes to this one. And as you can see, the lines are being filled in, even though with account number, even though I didn't have an account number in the in my amount distribution code. Let's take a quick look at the Web Approval Portal. You can see how it works over there. Open up as Robin. I have a document already lying here from First Up Consultants, also another one. So what will you do here? You will choose the Use Template and select the proper code. Let's take the warehouse once again and say continue, and you can see the lines have been generated based on my distribution percentage and the dimension codes while keeping the general ledger account. Quite nice, quite cool, ensuring that I can have more people updating the documents, the invoices, without having to type anything. Safe and secure using built-in templates for this process. Almost at the end, I have one item more here to demonstrate before we are through the live part. Let's see, this is about general journal balancing account. We want to register a document. You could do a document registration as an invoice, credit memo, or purchase order is also possible now. But you can also do general journal lines. And in previous versions of Document Capture, the vendor was the only balancing account, but now you can choose between bank, general ledger accounts, or the vendor if you want to, and the vendor is the default account. How to do this? Simply by adding a couple of template fields, the balancing account type and the balancing account number, and fill in the values. Let's try it out and see what it looks here in Business Central. I have this little invoice from LinkedIn, and let me recognize this one so we have a bit of data to play with. There we have recognized a lot of lines. And why don't we go through what the heck? Why don't we go through what is you're supposed to do, or what is possible with this feature, or what is needed, you could also say. So with our purchase category, I can go in and fill in more information, allowing me to do journal registration. And this is the part that I prepared for today. We have chosen a journal template name and a journal batch name, where I want to have my purchase invoice lines created. So this is by default blank, but today I have prepared it with a couple of values. Besides that, I need to go to my template because it's not only it's not always this that you probably don't want, if you can rephrase that, you probably don't want to have all vendors posted as general journal lines, but it might be selected vendors you want to update this way. So in here, I need to change my registration step 1 if I want to do journal lines for my invoices, and also if you do the same for credit memos, change it here, and you see that the layout of the template changes significantly to limit the options based on what is possible to register in a general journal. And let me go back here to my template. I need a couple of fields. I need those balancing account fields. So let's add those template fields. We have them here, balancing account, type and number, okay, and they are present here. So if I leave those blank and press register up here, I will have created them as journal lines with a vendor as balancing account. But if I do another trick, let's check this GL account and say this is my balancing account, and what account should I choose? Let's take my, I know the number 4300, my petty cash account. Yeah, so it's a paid in up in front in cash, and therefore I don't want to register as an invoice and simply post it directly on the cash account and the cost account specified here in my document card. Let's just check a look at the document card. What the heck? So here we have accounts already filled in, configured from the last time when I recognized the document. So what I have now is recognized lines with accounts on, and I have a balancing account. So yeah, that's it. Home and register. Let's move on and see what goes on. Wow, that was cool. 1 balancing account, petty cash, and 3 lines taken, and it's all adds up. Total balance 0 here. Number of lines 4 in total. Credit and debit. It looks so good. Everything is cool. So if you want to, what if you want to redo this one? Can I reopen the document now that has been created as journal lines? Yeah, sure you can. So why don't we look at my registered documents, and this should be this one. Let's reopen this. So if you try to reopen it, you get a message that the journal lines will be deleted. Yeah, please do that. And I can, if I want to, go in and redo the process, saying I don't want this to be a GL account. It should be a bank account instead. And then choose, let's take the checking, this one. It's been paid through the bank instead and not as a cash payout, and register, and you'll see the change up here in the first line. The balancing account is now the bank account instead. Quite easy, quite effective, I would say. I would like to play around a bit more, but time is flying, and we need to get back to the slideshow. I know Kim has a few words he wants to add. I'm finished with the walkthrough, and this is what we looked at. It was a pleasure to demonstrate it to you, and I would really like to see you again in May, the May webinar, where we'll go through prepayment and purchase order. Thank you for today, and I wish you a good afternoon. And it's time to you, Kim, to say a few words, perhaps.
Yes, thank you. We still have a Q&A, and I think there's a few questions you can look at. And while you are doing that, Mikkel,
yep.
Then I will share a bit information about. There's a lot of new features and a lot of news in this, and as Mikkel said, this might be the version that contains the most changes and improvements and additions in our entire history, and there was a lot. So of course, license-wise, some of it will also affect how the license is on the solution. So I will highlight a few things you should be aware of when we are talking about that. So I will just find back my application. Just a second. Again, pricing information and availability and pricing, the ones that we should have a look at is the purchase order approval and the purchase order, and then the prepayment. And as some of you might know, we have different license programs if you are on premises or if you are on Business Central Cloud. And for customers on Business Central on premises and the old NAV version as well, all the features mentioned here is available at the base license. If you want to approve a purchase order, you need and you want to do it through our web-based web approval portal, of course you need a license for that as well. On Business Central Cloud, through Microsoft AppSource, the new features are included in 2 of our feature modules. If you know the pricing and the license structure, you have a essential module with all our essential features, and then you have feature modules with more advanced features and feature sets. And the advanced capture feature module contains the purchase order features and the prepayment features. And then the document approval feature module, of course, contains all the features to approve the purchase order. That includes both if you approve by the Business Central client itself and the web approval portal. And I think that was it. And I think very quickly, maybe you can answer 2 questions, 1 or 2 questions, and then we'll answer the rest. Mikkel, back to you, so you can decide.
Yeah, let me share the screen because we have a couple of questions that I can definitely answer here. Oh, now my page disappeared. So let me, do you see anything shared here? Oh, no, not yet.
Not yet.
Let me try again. Should share now.
There we are.
Yeah, great. So we have a question about the check item prices. If this is for checking prices where you don't have any order match, and that is correct. When you have order match, the prices are being checked through the order itself. But when you don't have a purchase order involved, it makes sense to do item check, item price check. So it is for situations where you don't have any internal document, but you want to rely on your master data on the invoice cards. There's also a question about assigning. So there's a question about this when a document is being assigned to somebody. Now I fill in, you see a couple of assigning names in here for those documents. That could be either automatically or manually. When these documents being assigned, there's a question about how does it look? What can I do with this list? So I have here on my role center assigned to me page where I, as the assigned to person, get a view of my personal documents, not all the ones. So I can, as EH user, go in and see my list, whereas the accounts payable could go in and do a filter here on this page to say, I want to see all those that are assigned, or those that are not assigned or assigned to specific people. So it depends on what role you have. Are you a general user that has full access, or is your specific role to look at certain documents? Then you can configure the role center and the journal to support that. Yeah, that was 2 quick questions, Kim. I don't know if we... Yes.
I think we just ended there, and if there has been anything else on the chat, we will quickly answer them. And for now, on the public side, we can say thank you very much, and especially to you, Mikkel. A very thorough and a fast walkthrough of all the new features. Of course, it will be recorded, so if you want to get them repeated, then stay alerted on our YouTube channel. Then within a certain amount of time, it will be available there. So yeah, for now, thank you very much. And we are here again tomorrow with our payment management solution, and again the day after with expense management. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.